Best part of being a camera operator on Game of Thrones is the privilege of making a story with the camera in front of some of the best artists in the world, reading the best words that I've heard written for a long time. My name's Sean Savage. I'm the A camera operator on Dragon Unit, Game of Thrones. I started on Game of Thrones 2010. One of the first scenes I operated on Game of Thrones was some of the Night's Watch leaving the tunnel to go north beyond the wall. I've contributed to every episode since then. Over those 8 seasons, the Dragon Unit, I've had the privilege of shooting scenes like Battle of Blackwater Bay, The Red Wedding, Hardhome, which is extraordinary, an amazing sequence, followed by Bob, and then followed last year by The Ice Lake. I think by the end it'll be close on 73 episodes. Some of the challenges that the directors have thrown at us with their ideas, huge moves amongst ships and castle walls and the visual effects requirements, those technically have challenged us to our sort of limit, I'd say. I think if you ask me what my favorite scene over those 8 years was, it's when Jon Snow is forced to the ground and then trampled, and this seemingly immortal hero of ours looks like he's close to the end. Something that Miguel Sapochnik, the director, put into the show. It wasn't entirely scripted like that. Kit went to ground, I stood over him, and these stunt guys piled in, and we had a sort of safe word where we could call it off at any point. We had to see that the light closed up, so on Kit's face, and at that point, I just urged Kit to get off the ground and stand up again. And I think you can see that it is a true struggle. Bob was by far the biggest challenge, the scale of it, the organization, and the ambition that Miguel had. The attrition of going into that situation every day solidly for 23 days was a huge challenge.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, fire!
The nature of the story of Game of Thrones and the landscape it's set in has really thrown it at us. We've abandoned sets because of floods, rock falls, snowstorms, wind. It wouldn't be Game of Thrones if these things didn't crop up. Not knowing that I would end up doing 8 years on the biggest show in the world, Game of Thrones has been absolutely fantastic because it was the right time, right place. My level of experience at the time was suited, I think, to the show. I put the right team around me on the Dragon Unit. So for me, it's been very lucky in certain ways, but, you know, it's, I think, meant to be to a degree, I feel sometimes, and I've loved it. I think it'll be a legacy of mine, which, you know, I'll carry forever.
Hi everyone, it's Charlie. HBO dropped another promo for Game of Thrones Season 8, mostly hyping up the really big battles and all the camera work they've done and how the show has changed from Season 1 being really soap opera-y looking with the crazy, crazy wigs to the Season 8 episodes, which are much, much more cinematic. So they're going to be doing individual documentaries for each of the episodes just like this. They did the same thing for Season 7. I'll post as much of it as possible, but be sure to subscribe to get everything if you're brand new to the channel. There's also new giveaway stuff that I'll explain at the end of the video. He says that he's worked on pretty much every single episode of Game of Thrones as part of their Dragon Unit. So most of you probably know about the different filming units. It used to just be the Dragon Unit, which is their A unit, and the Wolf Unit, which is their B unit. Because the show used to be so sprawling, like you have Daenerys over in the east and all that stuff happening, you have the Starks up in the north, and you have all the stuff happening at King's Landing. There were so many different things going on in different locations in Europe because like the Stark-Winterfell stuff would be happening in Ireland, then you'd have all the Dubrovnik stuff where they would film all their King's Landing scenes, then you have all the Daenerys stuff that's happening in the east where they would have to film somewhere else. So there was actually at one point where they had 4 different camera units, starting with Season 3 as all of the characters started to head in different directions, like everybody started to break apart. The Stark children scattered to the 4 winds, so they had a Raven unit, which was sort of like their C unit for pickups and smaller stuff. When they got to season 4, they disbanded that and just went back down to 2 units. Then by season 6, they developed another one called the White Walker unit to shoot smaller scenes north of the Wall, obviously, as you guessed it, White Walker related. Most of the smaller Bran stuff north of the Wall with the Three-Eyed Raven and them trying to escape after the Night King found them, that's all White Walker unit stuff. But this guy, Sean Savage, is the lead camera guy for the main Dragon unit. So he did camera work for all their biggest episodes. He talks about Blackwater during season 2, the Red Wedding during season 3. He talks about doing Watchers on the Wall during season 4, Hardhome during season 5, Battle of the Bastards during season 6, then Beyond the Wall during season 7, and obviously going into season 8, he would have been the main camera guy for their episode 3, Big Battle of Winterfell with the White Walkers. They will be doing special documentaries for all the episodes like they did for season 6. I think they may have even done it during season 5 and season 4. I think HBO did a better job of promoting them during season 7, so if you liked all that stuff, they'll be doing that for each of the 6 episodes. But remember, he talks about all the big battle episodes, and we're mostly focused on episode 3, because that's the one they've been hyping up in all the season 8 trailers so far. Arya up on the battlements, you have Pod with Brienne here on the line, you have Grey Worm and the Unsullied, you have Ola Dothraki. The only thing that's missing from a lot of these big battle scenes in episode 3 are the dragons, Daenerys, and Jon Snow. That's why everyone's calling it the Game of Thrones Battle of Helm's Deep episode. So we're all really excited about that. But don't forget that Miguel Sapochnik directed 2 episodes during season 8, episode 3, Big Battle that we just talked about, but also episode 5, implying that there'll be another maybe smaller battle before the finale. So of course, thinking about it in retrospect, it's no surprise that they would go into their final episode with a huge bang, whatever that battle winds up looking like. There was also a separate video where Alan Taylor, who's directed a whole bunch of Game of Thrones episodes, especially some of the bigger ones, was talking about the original Ned Stark execution scene during season 1.
It is funny that we were very proud of ourselves for doing this. We thought we were being very clever. We thought this was revolutionary television, and we killed our main character. And then we started season 2, and we thought, oh shit, we've killed our main character. Hi, I'm Alan Taylor, director of this episode, Baylor. It's episode 9 of season 1 of Game of Thrones, and this is Notes on a Scene. The scene we're showing today comes at the end of the episode. It's the culmination of several storylines. You'll see the shot we used is kind of strange. It tilts up into the sky for no apparent reason, and then tilts back down to show the real scene and the stage. First of all, it's charming by Game of Thrones standards now because we have not nearly enough extras here. The most telling thing is that shot was designed to show us the awesome architecture of the Sept of Baelor, which is this sort of dome-like structure that covers the whole square that we only lost in post. So the shot remains, but not the structure. When I watch it now, I see just how little money we had at the time, but I think it still packs an emotional punch.
So he's mostly reminiscing about how small the budget used to be and how they had to work around a lot of big problems. Like, we don't have this giant crowd here. We only have this one big statue as Arya is trying to climb up in the crowd, this execution, just a handful of extras to make it seem like there were a lot of people watching this, compared to Cersei's Walk of Shame during season 5, or even during season 7, episode 3, where Euron is coming back to King's Landing to give Cersei her gift he promised of the Sand Snakes in Yara Greyjoy. Most of these people are actually real human being extras that are on set, whereas during season 1, they just had a couple people and they filmed it from weird angles to make it look like there was a lot of people in that crowd. So if you're really bummed out that Game of Thrones is ending and there aren't that many TV shows that work on this scale that are this epic, remember that when HBO announced the Game of Thrones prequel series, which they're going to start filming this summer, they said that it would be on the same scale that Game of Thrones has been the last couple of years. So just because they're starting a new Game of Thrones TV show next year doesn't mean that they're going back to the wig fest that was season 1. Just in terms of scale and scope, it's going to feel very similar to Game of Thrones the last couple of seasons. Obviously, Westeros is going to be very different because it'll be thousands of years ago, so there'll still be a lot of familiar things, like there'll be some of the great houses still existing, but it'll be way before the Andals invaded, so they'll all largely be First Men, even though there were great houses back then. So once we learn a little bit more about the prequel, I will do videos about that, but they won't be filming till this summer, so it will be a little while before we get details, and probably the end of the year before we get a really big trailer for that. If there are any bonus videos that you guys want me to do for the behind-the-scenes stuff or any of the documentaries that they make for the actual show, the show behind the show, just let me know in the comments. It's actually funny to think about it that way, making a really big show about making a really big show, but that just shows you how popular and huge Game of Thrones has become. There'll be more Game of Thrones posting later this week. There's only a couple weeks to go before the premieres here, so there is a new round of that book giveaway. I'll name a winner when I post my new video. All you have to do to enter is just be a subscriber and leave a comment on the video. Click here to rewatch the trailer a billion more times, and click here for all my Night King Easter eggs. Thank you so much for watching. Everybody stay awesome. I'll see you guys tonight.